Hello and welcome. They say the traditions that thrive over generations do so not only because they have strong old roots, but equally because they change over time. Today, we're going to look at a few examples of how the gaikis of the various gharanas that we sampled in the last lecture retained their flavors in the long 20th century and also ways in which they changed. Let us begin with the Gwalior Gharana. You will recall from the previous lecture from Krishnarao Shankar Panditji's recording that the older Gwalior singers revelled in the exuberance of the freedom the Khayal genre gave them. And they created their gaiki by using the ashtangas, those tools of improvisation that they used, by using them creatively. Right? This is the gaiki that was inherited by the great music reformer Pandit Vishnu Digambar Paluskar. But Paluskarji's vision went beyond acquiring fame as a vocalist. He was one of the most important figures in the history of Hindustani music because he took this music to the masses through his Gandharva Mahavidyalaya and its massive network of music schools that spanned the Indian subcontinent. Now, as part of this effort, this massive effort, Paluskarji created a syllabus and a methodology to teach Rag Sangeet that incorporated his ideals of discipline, restraint, and purity. You can see this discipline in the music of his son, Pandit D.V. Paluskar. The unpredictability of the Gwalior Gaiki is replaced here by a beautiful approach in which sequence and orderliness become increasingly important. So, as you listen to Pandit D.V. Paluskar sing this Khayal in Rag Lalat, notice how, unlike Krishnarao Shankar Panditji, he presents the Ashtangas in a largely pre-decided sequence. Sthai and Antara, followed by Akar Alap, Bol Alap, Bol Bant, Bol Tan, and Tan. Even if you can't identify each of these angas, I'm sure you'll enjoy the grand beauty a well-ordered, disciplined performance creates. Do also notice his tuneful, precise vocalization What joy there is in orderliness, in discipline, and in precision. D.V. Paluskar is full of this kind of joy. Let's move on now though, because the 20th century also saw the rise of a musician who, although trained in the same Gwalior lineage, latched onto the freedom inherent in the Gwalior idiom, added various other Gharana and non-Gharana influences to it, and created a new music. This was Pandit Kumar Gandharva. Kumarji's musical world was vast. He was known for his incredible tunefulness, his moving expressive power, his huge repertoire. But for our purposes, let's just focus on one of the most important things he did with his Khayal Gaiki. As you will notice in this short clip of him singing Rag Bhoop, Kumarji organized his Khayal performance not by progressing in a standardized sequence, but by putting the bandish he was singing in the center of things. So as he sings this bandish, Mura Jhanj Mandilara Bajele, notice how he finds so many possibilities in just the outline of the bandish. Possibilities of expression, of emotion, of playfulness, melodic structure, rhythm work, word play. Kumarji allows his performance to be guided by the seed possibilities inherent in the bandish, and equally by his moods, his own intuitions, by his spontaneous responses to the musical situation he finds himself in, rather than by a conventional format of presentation or by the grammar of Rag and Tal. That's not what leads his music. Here then is Pandit Kumar Gandharva singing Mura Jhanj Mandilara in Rag Bhoop.
बाजेलो मोरा बाजेलो मोरा बाजेलो मोरा झान मंदिलरा मोरा झान मंदिलरा मोरा झान मंदिलरा मोरा झान मंदिलरा झान मंदिलरा झान मंदिलरा मोरा झान मंदिलरा मोरा झान मंदिलरा बाजेलो मोरा जान मंदिलरा मोरा जान गुने जाब गाव रास मंदिला रास मंदिला गुने जाब गाव रास मंदिला नाचत काना कन्हैया आनंद करे सब लोग बगावे रास मंदिलरा गुनी सब गावे रास मंदिलरा गुनी सब गावे रास मंदिलरा नाचत कानन कन्हैया नाचत कानन कन्हैया आनंद करे सब लोग मोरा जान मंदिलरा मोरा जान मंदिलरा मोरा जान मंदिलरा
Let's move on to the Agra Gharana now. The music of this Gharana was perhaps at the peak of its popularity in the mid 20th century, and the Fayaz Khan idiom of expressive, lilting, rhythmic singing in a voice laden with emotion and charisma was kept alive by the likes of Pandit Babanrao Haldankar, an important musician and scholar who studied for many years in the Agra tradition and thoroughly internalized its idiom. In this recording of Rag Sham Kalyan, you will of course notice the Agra characteristic of giving a lot of prominence to bowl work, playing with the words and syllables of the composition to create new rhythmic and emotion-laden phrases. But another important characteristic of the great Agra singers was their ability to instantly create a clear, unambiguous image of the rag in just the first few moments of their singing. And they were able to maintain that image throughout. Even if you aren't familiar with the structure of Rag Sham Kalyan, as you listen to this recording, you will notice, I'm sure, a clear image of the rag emerging from Baban Rao's treatment of it. Additionally, Baban Rao was, true to his Agra tradition, he was an absolute master of rhythm. An absolute master. And as a small sample of his skill with rhythm, Do notice as you listen to this recording the tihais he sings towards the end of this clip. A tihai is simply a phrase that is repeated 3 times so that its last syllable coincides perfectly with the sum. Sounds simple enough, but you have to remember that Baban Rao composes these wonderful tihais spontaneously as he goes along. We'll point the tihais out for you in the visual, so keep an eye on it. And as you listen to them, notice how skillfully Baban Rao is able to execute his rhythm play, while also keeping the lilt and the emotion of the bandish alive. Here is Pandit Baban Rao Shri Krishna Haldankar singing Rag Sham Kalyan.
हमसे छुपे छुपे सोतन संग जावत जो हमसे छुपे छुपे हमसे छुपे छुपे सोतन घर जावत बलम तुम
Wasn't that wonderful? So that, then, in a quick, crude nutshell, is the Agra aesthetic. Clear rag structure, maintaining the lilt of the bandish, exciting rhythm work, and evocative, rich wordplay. But it always amazes me to see how, in comparison, the Jaipur Gharana manages to move and inspire listeners through a completely different approach. Now, we've already sampled the complex austerity, if you remember from the last lecture, that Kesarbai Kerkar creates in her music. The music taught to her by the great Ustad Allah Dia Khan. And in the 20th century, though, the most prominent inheritor of this style was Gana Saraswati Kishori Amankar. But Kishori Tai, as she was popularly known, brought a different flavor to her Jaipur Gaiki. She brought to this austere, almost ascetic style a refreshing emotionalism that won great renown. Let's listen to a short edited piece of Kishori Tai singing Rag Savani Kalyan. Do notice in this clip the characteristic Jaipur Gaiki we have discussed already. Most of the improvisation, the rag development is an akar, the A vowel. There is a clear logical design to the melodies she improvises, and there is a growing complexity in her patterns. Also notice that Kishori Tai never changes the point in the rhythm cycle from which she picks up the mukhda. Deho, deho, the words of the bandish. The point from which she picks it up remains the same. This is a feature typical of the Jaipur discipline. If you listen to singers from other Gharanas, you'll notice that they play with the mukhda. So they might shift the point at which it starts, or they might even modify its melody. But Jaipur singers rarely do this. And this is one way in which they maintain discipline and austerity in their music. But as you listen to this clip, you will surely notice how Kishori Tai softens this austerity by bringing a beautiful emotionalism into it. You'll also hear Kishori Tai indulge in some wordplay in this clip, which is another departure she makes from strict Jaipur discipline. Although she inherited this wordplay from her mother, Gana Tapaswini Mogubai Kurdikar, who pioneered this ang within Jaipur Gaiki. Also, the rag Kishori Tai sings here is Savani Kalyan, which is a combination of two rags, Savni and Kalyan. These Jod ragas are another typical feature of the Jaipur repertoire. So let's listen now to Kishori Tai's disciplined but emotional version of it in this short clip. Here she is singing Rag Savni Kalyan. That was so beautiful, wasn't it? Let's move on now to the Kirana Gharana. Perhaps the most famous 20th century figure from the Kirana Gharana is Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, who very ably carried on the tradition of Ustad Abdul Karim Khan Sahab that we sampled before. And I encourage you to listen to the many recordings of Bhimsen Ji that are available freely online, and do listen for similarities with Abdul Karim Khan Sahab's idiom. But what I'd like to play for you right now, today, is another interpretation of the Kirana Gharana's legacy, represented by the great Ustad Amir Khan of his own Indore Gharana. Now, Ustad Abdul Karim Khan Sahab's brother, Ustad Abdul Wahid Khan Sahab was a great influence on Amir Khan Sahab's Gayaki. Abdul Wahid Khan Sahab focused on a kind of melodic complexity that was very different from the Jaipur complexity that we've been looking at. What you'll hear in Amir Khan Sahab's Gayaki is the incredible skill of making difficult, unexpected, quick jumps between notes to create patterns that challenge the boundaries of the rag and delight with their suddenness and their brilliance. This technique of jumping between notes is a technique called Mer Khand, in which Amir Khan Sahab received extensive training. You notice it when he starts singing his sargams, and as he explores the connections, the relationships between the notes of the rag. Also notice in his super fast dance towards the end of this clip, the wonderful designs he creates. One can only marvel at the rich complexity they contain and at the skill with which they are executed. It's not easy to sing patterns as complex as this spontaneously. But before Amir Khan Sahab gets into this complex work, he enthralls you with the slow, laid back, subtle beauty of his kehen, his particular expression of this rag. Here then is Amir Khan Sahab singing the bandish Jogiya More Ghar Aaye in rag Lalat.
Jogiya mere ghar aaye, jogiya mere jogiya mere ghar aaye, jogiya mere aaye, ghar ghar aaye khaye jagaye, jogiya mere ghar jogiya mere ghar aaye, ghar ghar aaye khaye jagaye, jogiya mere ghar aaye, ye kanan kundala gal bij se, kanan kundala gal bij se, ang bhagutar maaye, jogiya mere aaye, jogiya mere ghar aaye, kanan kundala gal bij se, kanan kundala gal bij se, गर बीज से अंग भगु सर जोगी आओ मेरे घर गम धम कर सजोगी आओ मेरे घर गर गम मद मद गम गम गग निगम गर निधन जोगी आओ मेरे घर धने गम गर गनि मद दनि मदनि गनि मद गनि निधनि गम गर सजोगी आओ मेरे गम मदनि गिरि गम दनि मनि मद मनि गनि गम गर सजोगी आओ मेरे जोगिया में जोगिया मेरे जोगिया मेरे घर कौन को
Wasn't that beautiful? So the idea in these two lectures has been to give you a quick aerial survey of sorts of Gharana music and of how the various Gharanas contrast themselves from each other in voice production, in approach to improvisation, in attitude, in cultural context. We've only covered 4 major Gharanas. There are other Gharanas. There is the Patiala Gharana, the Mewati Gharana, the Rampur Sahaswan Gharana, the Bhindi Bazar Gharana, and many others which are very important in their own right. But the idea here was not to give you a complete survey of all the Gharanas, of the entire landscape, but to allow you to appreciate the contrasts within the Gharanas, and hopefully you have an idea now of what a Gharana is, what a Gharana's Gaiki is, and why various Gharanas exist and how they populate the landscape of Khayal and make it so rich. I really encourage you, if this interests you, to go online, to log on to YouTube and to listen to the vast amount of Gharana music that is available there for you to listen to. And as you do try to form your own opinions based on the information we've tried to give you here about the various Gharanas, about their approaches. Do see if you can correlate the music that you hear with everything that we've talked about. In our next session, we have a very special guest. We have the acclaimed vocalist, performer, musicologist, scholar, Pandit Satyashil Deshpande, and who has spent many years studying the music of the various Gharanas with the Gharana masters and their disciples and their lineages. Satyashil ji will, in this next lecture, help us get into even more nuanced details of the Gaiki of the various Gharanas through various demonstrations and his unique style of explaining the music of the Gharanas. So I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you.